So a lot of people would like to use this tool because it's a very good tool for anybody that plays Path of Exile. It's called Path of Building, and we use currently a version called Community Fork. It's basically a planner. You plan your builds, you test things, you change I don't know, gems, items, and you see how the DPS goes, how your tankiness goes, and it's very complex, so it's hard to summarize in one video. But I'm going to try to help as much as I can with planning a build. So for starters, if you don't have the app, you go here and search for Path of Building Community Fork. You'll find this page, grab the latest release, then you download the first one, and then after you download it, you go here and you check for update. Because currently we have the version 2.13, and that's the one that you're going to be using, that you want to be using, right? That's the first step. After that, you don't really need to know how to use all of the features of the program at once, because it's getting even more complex with each league, of course. But one of the things that I like to do is to start a tree, then apply my items to it. So what I do is normally in-game, right? In-game I have items, I craft items, and I find items, and sometimes I buy items. So I have the items in my inventory here. So in the example that I'm going to use is for my upcoming build of Winter Orb. So what did I do? I bought all the items as I was planning with Path of Building. So you can see here that when I hover the mouse over an item, for example, this pair of gloves here, I Control C on this item, okay? You Control C on the item in the game, then you go to Path of Building, and you go to Items, Create Custom, and then you Control V, and there it is. There's the gloves. You create, you add to build. So you can see that the gloves here are now a copy. Okay, I already have them here. But you can see here the stats of the item, exactly as the games. So this is very useful for planning builds. If you want to know how much resistance, for example, you need, or how much you're going to be inflicting on DPS, all you have to do is build your tree here, and of course you apply the correct ascendancy here, and after you build your tree, you start to apply items here. The best way for me is copying from the game, but you can also craft items. This is for like a wish build. You wish you had this, you are going to seek these items, you know that these items will work well, etc. So for example, I'm going to try to craft a pair of gloves here. So you go here, gloves, you choose what type of gloves, so armor evasion, you choose what subtype, or skull gauntlet, create, and then you have the mods here. You can influence it, you can corrupt, apply enchantment, you can even in cases of rings and amulets, you can anoint everything. So you can really configure everything in the item for your build. So one of the useful things that I like to do as I level a character, I start playing a character, and then I go and I level the character. I don't know how am I going to be when I get to maps. Normally, people stop playing at Act 6 and then after Kitava 10 to fix the character, to fix the resistances and everything else. But you can do this when you're level 1 if you know how to use the PoE. So that's how you do. You can check here, you put your level here, right? You put, I don't know, level 89. This build requires 91, so I'm going to put level 91 here. And with all my items applied, this is my life. This is the life that I'm going to have. 5714 when I finish applying all the items that I have here. And you can also see the resistances here. So here I have fire resistances 55% over the 75 cap after both the reductions from the acts. And this is very useful for people that are afraid of gear resistance being low or something like that. And there's also something very useful, because when you try to see what do you need, what item do you need, I need to fill this fire resistance, or I need armor. So in the case here, the build is filled. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to delete one item, for example those pairs of gloves there. Let's delete the item. So my resistance are still fine. I'm going to delete now this amethyst ring here. So now I don't have K resistance, right? So I come here, the item. I'm already wearing the item. I Control C here, and I go here, cancel, create custom, create item, add to build, and then it automatically updates my resistances here, as you can see. So as you apply the items, the resistances will be updated. There is one little catch in configuration. If you already know how to use the path of building and you are in configuration here, if you put endurance charges, your resistances will increase. Because remember that for each endurance charge you have 4% of all resistances. So if your build can acquire endurance charges and you let this activated, you can mess up your base resistances, and you don't want to do that. This here is specifically for DPS calculations. For example, this character here, I am going to apply 2 curses, and then I put the curses here. And as you can see in the configuration, I put that my enemies will be chilled and shocked, right? Because that's what I'm going to inflict on them. So if you remove shock here, DPS changes, and chill as well. And in this case here, for example, Winter Orb is, since I use GMP, I have 5 orbs that will be cast all the time, and they will overlap their AoE on bosses mostly, and you can see that it's 100k DPS, you multiply by 5, so it's 500k DPS. It's kind of decent. Also, when you finish your tree, when you finish putting all the items here, you will see in the skills section a lot of help. For example, I'm going to create a new one here, and I'm going to create Winter Orb. That's the skill I'm going to be using. And then here, I'm going to select this new one here. You can see that this is my current one that has the skill gems here, but this one here has none. So I select it here, and it shows my DPS, 24k. And as it's selected in the left side, when you change to the right side here, the DPS will update. And also, the PoE will give me the best possible gem, DPS wise. So of course we have the Awakened here, and if I put Concentrated Effect, that is a very feasible gem to get. I'm not going to plan builds with Awakened gems. The DPS goes to 34. And then the next one, another suggestion from the game, is going to be Control Destruction. I don't want Control Destruction because the new way that Element Overload works. So if I put Control Destruction, if here, the crit chance will diminish so much that I'm never going to have Element Overload up. So you can see here is 9.60, and if I put Control Destruction, it goes to 1.92. No, that doesn't work at all. So Elemental Focus, no, because a big defense and DPS also from this build is chilling and freezing enemies. But added code puts my DPS for 45. Then I go to another one, Hypothermia. 58. I go to another one, Inspiration, with the inspiration charges that are already configured here to maximum. It goes to 73. Reader, I just start typing and then it goes. Right, so it stays here, and I have to put 10 stages here because I will be channeling, and as I'm channeling, I'm going to have 10 stages. That's the calculations for your DPS, right? Your maximum DPS. So that's here. You can see that with GMP, I multiply by 5, and then I have my DPS. And of course, it shows, if you come here in calcs and you select the correct Winter Orb, I'm going to delete this one here for organization purposes. If you go to cogs and you select Winter Orb, the correct one, right, and you put channel into 10, it shows everything that is going to influence your DPS here. And as you hover your mouse, you can see that everything is shown here to your right. It shows this little table here, and it shows also the inspiration charges, Frost Bomb that applies exposure, and the 2 curses, Elemental Weakness and Frostbite here. So that's the final DPS. There's more details here. As you explore, you can hover your mouse by a lot of things so that you can learn more and better. Also, it shows you your mitigation. This is interesting. This blue part here below from the DPS section from calcs, you can see how much you can mitigate from physical damage or elemental damage. For example, my physical damage pool is effective hit pool is 35k 857 for hits, not for dots. The dot pool is of course much smaller because I don't have so much mitigation from dots. And this is for physical, this column here, and you can see the lightning, cold, fire, and chaos resistance pools, as you can see here. So as you create your build, the PoB also calculates how tanky you are, and this helps you too, so that you don't, I don't know, plan a very glass build. It doesn't matter what league you are, dying is never an option. So you go and check everything, and if you have an inspector, it will also show here. You can select, you can see in the example here, I have many builds with inspectors. Cox, I get here my raid inspector. What's the correct one? This one here. Kitava's Herald, show minion stats, you put this marked. I already managed the specters. Okay, you click here and put Kitava's Herald to the left, you drag, and then it shows here some my Kitava's Herald with this build. They have 67k life, and these are their damage. Each one of them inflicts 88k DPS with Lip Slam. I have 4 or 5 of this build, so I multiply, and this doesn't even count the attack speed they get from Unending Hunger, if you get those. And it shows their blocks, their resist, it shows everything. So everything that you need to know by your right here. Your down here, it shows also the pool. As you can see, they have 172k hit pool for physical damage. Is a crazy amount, and then 500k for the other types of damage. So you can even measure your specters, how tanky they are, or your minions in general for the purpose, for any build, Reaper, whatever. So I hope this helped. There are many things to cover if I really want to teach everything about PoB, but this is going to be a very long video if I do this. So I hope it helps. And if you enjoyed this video or the types of video that I upload, please subscribe. Thank you and bye.